This is a code red. I repeat, this is a code red. There are spoilers ahead, so make sure to watch all of Stranger Things 3 on Netflix before going any further. Eleven first opened the gate to the Upside Down way back in Stranger Things 1, when she made contact with a Demogorgon, that big monster with the flower face full of teeth that you know still haunts you in your dreams. But Ross Duffer and his brother Matt, the creators of the series, they knew that the Demogorgon would be the least of Eleven's Upside Down problems.
We always saw the Demogorgons as sharks, like the shark in Jaws in season 1. But ultimately it was a creature. It was following blood. And so what we really wanted to do in terms of to up the stakes moving forward is to create something sentient, because that's always even scarier to us than just a creature or a monster.
So, going into Stranger Things 2, they wanted an antagonist who would be more powerful than a Demogorgon, and the writers wanted something that they could build as a recurring villain. And when the writers were brainstorming what this new enemy could be, Paul Dichter, one of the writers on the show, he says they referred back to Mike, Lucas, Will, and Dustin's all-time favorite book, the Dungeons & Dragons Manual.
The Mind Flayer.
What the hell is that?
It's a monster from an unknown dimension. It's so ancient that it doesn't even know its true home.
When we came across the Mind Flayer in Dungeons & Dragons mythology, it felt like almost like a shocking discovery.
The D&D Mind Flayer was cosmic. He was from another dimension, and he thought of himself as a superior being who wanted to take over other worlds. And so is the Stranger Things Mind Flayer. He is the all-powerful being who rules the parallel dimension known as the Upside Down. And this season, the Mind Flayer tries, once again, to take over Hawkins and the entire world as we know it. So, for our season finale, we are the ones going up against the enemy. We will face the people he flayed.
We are going to end everyone.
We will dissect that monster he's building out of all those townspeople. And we'll find out how, even though Eleven lost her powers, the Stranger Things gang still managed to foil the Mind Flayer's plan.
I can fight.
I'm your host, Dan Taberski, and this is Behind the Scenes of Stranger Things 3, Episode 3, The Mind Flayer. Last season, the Mind Flayer tried to conquer Hawkins by unleashing an army of Demodogs and by possessing Will Byers.
It's like everything inside your body is just sinking all at once, but this is worse. Your body, it goes cold and you can't breathe.
But the Mind Flayer's plan failed because Eleven closed the gate. The theory was, if you close the gate, you cut the Mind Flayer off from our dimension. And so any part of him that was left in our dimension would perish. And so the kids assumed that whatever piece of the Mind Flayer was expelled from Will Byers' body had died. But that assumption? Totally wrong.
What if he never left? What if we locked him out here with us?
We always had this idea that what if he was locked in here with Hawkins with the kids? And what would he do if he was locked in?
Ross and his brother Matt loved the idea that all this time, that piece of the Mind Flayer that was in Will, it hadn't died. Instead, it was lying dormant in Hawkins, stewing, waiting for the gate to be reopened. And for the Duffers and the writers, having a piece of the Mind Flayer locked up in the kids' dimension would create new possibilities for the supernatural storyline.
And we got excited about, a couple things. One, that he knew about 11 now, which he didn't in season 2, which is really why we ended season 2 with the Mind Flayer hovering over Hawkins, because now he's aware that this girl has these powers that are extraordinarily strong and can stop him from his evil plans.
Obviously, the Mind Flayer is going to try and take over the world again. It's what villains do. And this time around, he knows that to do that, he's got to take out 11 first.
We thought about the idea of him, in sort of that Hellraiser way of building a body.
Building a body would mean that the Mind Flayer would have a physical presence in Hawkins. And this physical proxy would be so big and so powerful and so disgusting that there is no chance he'd lose to 11 this time.
Okay, so just to be clear, this big fleshy spider thing that hurt Elle, it's some kind of gigantic weapon?
Yes.
But instead of like screws and metal, the Mind Flayer made its weapon with melted people.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, okay. I'm just making sure.
The Mind Flayer starts building this creature with rats. But he quickly realizes that he needs bigger bodies. And to get those bodies, he needs a new host. This time, preferably not a sweet, innocent 13-year-old boy.
We'd actually spoken about it a lot in season 2. And that was something that I was very aware of, but I wasn't really aware of how it was going to pan out.
Dacre Montgomery is the Australian actor who plays Max's big brother, Billy Hargrove. The lifeguard with the sexiest mullet perm in Hawkins. Is it a mullet? Is it a perm? We don't know. It's the 80s. It was a crazy time. Having the Mind Flayer control Billy, this was not a new idea. The Duffers talked to Dacre last season about wanting to do some possession plotline with Billy. They even tried to work it into season 2, but they weren't able to fit it in. So when they sat back down in the writer's room for Stranger Things 3, possessing Billy was back on the table. Billy is a pretty great host for 2 reasons. One, he's this big, magnetic, muscly guy.
Afternoon, ladies.
Afternoon, Billy.
And he's already got an aggressive streak, which comes in handy, since his whole job is knocking people out and bringing them to a warehouse to be flayed by a monster.
Don't be afraid. It'll be over soon.
And 2, Billy is a convenient host because the group of kids investigating the Mind Flayer includes his little sister Max. And Max happens to be besties with 11, the Mind Flayer's arch nemesis. So Max and 11 are able to snoop around Billy's bathroom together without, breaking in.
Why do I get the feeling we're going to find all kinds of wrong in here?
And in that bathroom, they find blood on the cabinets and melted ice in his bathtub, which all leads to a growing suspicion that Billy is up to something. So the kids decide to confront him.
And look, the controls are right here. It's perfect.
Will it get hot enough?
220 degrees. We just have to figure out how to get him in here.
Can we lock him in, heat him up?
No matter what happens, we'll know. We'll know for sure.
For the actual sauna test, I rewatched and I read the scene from The Shining when Jack Torrance is in the freezer.
Kate Treefree is a writer on Stranger Things, and she wrote the first draft of Chapter 4. It's the episode where the kids do a sauna test to confirm whether or not the Mind Flayer was actually controlling Billy.
Because that was kind of the feeling that I wanted to evoke, and because I think that character, vacillates so effectively from, somebody familiar to somebody horrifying, something unrecognizably bad,
Let's talk about Jack Nicholson for a second.
Okay, so Jack Nicholson famously plays Jack Torrance, the main character in The Shining, one of the scariest movies ever made. And on Stranger Things, it's clear that horror-obsessed minds think alike, because Kate was referencing The Shining in this scene. And even though they never talked about it, Dacre was looking to Jack Nicholson's performance in that movie for inspiration.
I feel like whether he's playing the archetypal villain or hero or somewhere in between, he gives very unusual acting choices, which I think keep the audience on their toes a little bit. That was a strategy that I wanted to employ a little bit in this season. I think it was very important, even more so than last season, to keep the audience on their toes.
Like when the kids are luring Billy into the sauna and he sees what he thinks is a kid who's taunting him.
Got you.
Billy's creepy laugh and clap when he thinks he caught his prey, that is just one of the unusual acting choices that Dacre made while playing Billy. And once Billy gets trapped in the sauna and the kids start cranking up the heat, the line between where Billy ends and the Mind Flayer begins is blurred. For the kids, for you and me in the audience, and for Billy.
I think it's a fight. It's a constant fight. Like you're choking yourself in a weird way.
Dacre wanted to find a way to show the internal struggle that Billy is experiencing because of the Mind Flayer's control. And so he researched dissociative identity disorder, what used to be known as multiple or split personality disorder.
I did a lot of work about in psychology where the spot is, like which personality has control over the spot, the room, right, in your head. And I think the whole thing is the fight for Billy having the spot and having the voice. So I did a lot of work on those people that suffer or live with those conditions.
The work that Dacre put into this character is important because he's not just playing Billy. In some ways, he's playing the Mind Flayer. The only time we hear the Mind Flayer speak is through Billy, both in the Upside Down and later in Billy's memories.
You let us in, and now you are going to have to let us stay.
But Billy is just one piece of the Mind Flayer. And now we're about to get into the other, slimy, toothy, 30-foot tall piece of him. The monster.